right now. March 2026. 50 Cent just made a move that changed the entire conversation. $100 million. Times Square, New York City. His city. And while everyone else is talking about old beef and old drama, 50 is out here signing deals that most people can't even dream about. But here's the part nobody is fully connecting. Jay-Z tried to build a casino in that same area and got shut down. Now 50 Cent is planting his flag right in the middle of Times Square and building something Jay-Z never got the chance to. That's not a coincidence. That's a statement. And at the same time, he just evicted Jim Jones from his own podcast studio, then bought the building, then turned it into a punchline. And if all of that wasn't enough, he's in the middle of a full family war with T.I., Tiny, King Harris, and Damani Harris. The whole household came out swinging. And 50 is still signing $100 million deals in between. This story has layers, real layers. And before we go any further, make sure you subscribe and hit that like button right now, because what we are about to break down is one of the most calculated power moves New York has ever seen. And the people involved are going to be very upset that you're watching this. Let's get into it. Let's start from the beginning. Because to really understand what 50 Cent is doing right now, you have to understand who 50 Cent has always been. Curtis James Jackson III was not supposed to be here. Not in the way he's here right now. He grew up in South Jamaica, Queens. Lost his mother at age 8. Got shot 9 times in 2000. And instead of disappearing, he came back louder than ever. That origin story matters, because it is the engine behind everything you're seeing unfold in 2026. People ask why 50 Cent never lets things go. Why he always has to respond. Why he can't just be quiet and enjoy his success. And the answer is built into who he is at the core. When you come from nothing, when you lose the people you love early, when you survive what he survived, you don't operate from a place of comfort. You operate from a place of proving. Every single day. That's 50 Cent. Now let's talk about where this all started picking back up. Because this isn't just a random explosion of chaos in 2026. This goes back further. Way further. In late 2025, 50 Cent released a Netflix documentary called Sean Combs, The Reckoning. That doc was a cultural earthquake. And Jim Jones and Maino, 2 New York figures with long histories in the streets and the culture, went on camera and called it out. They said what they said about 50's Diddy documentary. And that was the spark that lit everything on fire. 50 Cent doesn't take kindly to public criticism, especially not from New York. Especially not from people he considers beneath his level. And what happened next was calculated, precise, and honestly, kind of genius from a chaotic standpoint. Because 50 didn't just respond on social media. He didn't just drop a subliminal. He went after the building. Literally. He allegedly got into business with Jim Jones and Maino's podcast studio landlord. Reports from Complex and Hot New Hip Hop confirmed this in February of 2026. 50 posted surveillance footage of Jim Jones trying to kick in the door of his own podcast studio after allegedly being evicted. The backstory is that Jim and his crew reportedly owed around $180,000 in back rent on the studio space, and 50 allegedly linked up with the landlord, posted the footage, and turned the whole thing into content. That right there is 50 Cent in his most natural form. Not a gun, not a threat, a camera, a caption, and a connection to the right people. That is how he operates in 2026. And it worked perfectly. Because now, while Jim Jones is publicly embarrassed, while Maino is sitting on Vlad TV defending himself, 50 Cent is announcing a $100 million deal with Planet Hollywood to take over Times Square. The contrast is everything. That is the story. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Because this is not just one isolated situation. This is a pattern. 50 Cent has always operated this way. Create conflict, absorb the attention, channel it into opportunity, let the opposition self-destruct. And while everybody is distracted watching the drama, sign the deal, build the empire, stack the money, and let the receipts speak louder than any diss track ever could. This is the cultural moment amplification that 50 has been running his entire career. And right now in 2026, he is running it better than he ever has. For those who don't know the full picture yet, let's lay it all out clearly, because there are multiple situations colliding at the same time. There's the Jim Jones and Maino situation. There's the T.I. and Harris family situation. There's the Jay-Z casino connection that nobody is talking about directly. There's the $100 million Times Square deal. And there's the $124 million Louisiana film production empire he's building simultaneously. All of this is happening at the same time. Right now. In the first quarter of 2026. If you're a real hip-hop fan, you have to respect the scale of what is happening here. Even if you don't like the man. Even if you think the beefing is childish. The business moves cannot be denied. And we are going to break down every single layer. Let's start with the $100 million Times Square deal. Because this one deserves its own full breakdown. On March 24th, 2026, just days ago at the time of this video, 50 Cent officially announced a partnership with Robert L., the founder and CEO of Planet Hollywood. Together, they are launching PH Live, a next-level entertainment hub taking over Planet Hollywood's flagship New York location right in the heart of Times Square. According to TMZ, this is a reported $100 million deal. And this is not a small venue situation. This is not a bar with a DJ and some velvet ropes. This is being built as a full celebrity magnet. Pop-up concerts, movie premieres, private industry events, VIP experiences that feel more like exclusive Vegas productions than a regular night out. State-of-the-art LED tech that can transform the entire space depending on the event. Live sports watch parties, album release events, birthday celebrations at a level most people never see in their lives. This is Times Square on another level. And here's what makes this feel even bigger. 50 already has history with Planet Hollywood. He did a Las Vegas residency at PH Live inside Planet Hollywood Resort and Casino. 6 shows. Reportedly $15 million. He launched his candy shop bar and grill there. So this is not a cold partnership. This is a relationship that has already proven itself. And now they are taking that relationship into New York City. 50's home. His city. The city that made him, and the city that is watching him win right now. But here is where the real meaning of this deal reveals itself. And I need you to pay attention to this part. Because this is not just about a nightclub. This is not just about entertainment. This is about positioning. Jay-Z's Roc Nation backed to bid to put a Caesars casino in Times Square. That bid was voted down. 4-2 against. Community Advisory Committee said no. Despite support from the mayor. Despite support from the governor of New York, Jay-Z, one of the wealthiest artists on the planet, could not get his casino approved in Times Square. That vote happened in September of 2025, and then Nas, Jay-Z's old nemesis from Queens, got his casino bid approved. A $5.5 billion resorts world expansion in Queens, approved unanimously. Queens getting money, and Nas was right there front and center. The internet had a field day with that. People were pulling up the old Ether lyrics, the old Takeover bars, saying the same Queens versus Manhattan energy was playing out in real time in the business world. And now, just a few months after Jay-Z got rejected from Times Square, 50 Cent walks in and plants a $100 million flag in the exact same area. You don't think 50 sees that? You don't think that is fully intentional energy? This is a man who once put a song called How to Rob on his debut mixtape listing every major rapper he would rob just to get attention. He doesn't do things without knowing exactly what energy he is creating. This Times Square move is not just business. It's a message. And Jay-Z fans know exactly what that message says. Now, let's get into the Jim Jones and Maino situation. Because this one has been building since December of 2025. And it just hit a completely different level. Here is the full breakdown of how this started. December 2025. 50 Cent releases the Sean Combs documentary on Netflix. The reception is massive. It becomes a cultural conversation point. And Jim Jones and Maino go on record criticizing it. 50 does not like that. He goes on social media and does what he does. He mocks them. He clowns them publicly. He escalates. And then it gets serious. Because 50 announces that he is going to buy the building that houses Jim Jones and Maino's podcast studio. Not make a diss track. Not drop a subliminal. Buy the building. TMZ reported on December 16th, 2025 that 50 vowed to purchase the podcast building just to win the feud. People thought he was joking. He was not joking. By February 2026, reports surfaced that Jim Jones and his crew allegedly owed close to $180,000 in back rent. 50 linked up with the landlord, and the landlord started moving very differently around the podcast space. And then the footage dropped. Surveillance video, allegedly showing Jim Jones trying to kick in the door of his own studio after reportedly being evicted. 50 posted it, captioned it, "Let the internet do the rest." And the internet delivered. That footage went everywhere. It became one of the most talked about hip-hop moments of February 2026. Not for music, not for bars, for a door, a locked door, and the man standing outside of it. That is how 50 operates now. He weaponizes reality. He turns real life into content. And he does it with a precision that most people cannot match. Now, let's talk about Maino specifically, because Maino is not invisible in this story. He's been one of the loudest voices throughout all of this. And what he has been saying on Vlad TV recently is very significant, because Maino is making a very specific argument. He's saying that 50 Cent's whole tough image, his whole G-Unit untouchable reputation, does not fully match up with what actually happened behind the scenes. And the centerpiece of that argument is Jimmy Henchman. For those who don't know, Jimmy Henchman is a music industry figure and manager who had serious ties to the game before his split from G-Unit. The beef between 50 Cent and Jimmy Henchman was not just music industry drama. It got real. It got serious. Shots were fired at properties connected to G-Unit. People were put under serious pressure. And Maino sat on Vlad TV and said point blank, they got spanked. His words, meaning that, in his view, Jimmy Henchman won those situations. And that is a wild claim, because the public narrative has always been that 50 Cent and G-Unit were untouchable, that the guerrilla unit energy was real and nobody could touch them. And here comes Maino on a major platform, saying that image doesn't match the full reality. Now, is Maino right? Is he wrong? That depends on who you ask. And honestly, the deeper layers of those situations go into territory that is far more serious than anything we want to explore in full detail here. What we do know is that Jimmy Henchman is currently serving a double life sentence in federal prison. That outcome resulted from convictions connected to serious federal cases, and several people cooperated in those proceedings. So the full picture of who won and who lost in those situations is more complicated than any single narrative. But Maino choosing to bring this up right now, at this specific moment, in the middle of their conflict with 50, that is not random, that is calculated. He's trying to chip at the foundation of 50's image. And 50 is not going to let that land quietly, not even close. Now, let's connect the bigger dots here, because Maino also told Vlad TV something very important. He put the blame directly on Jim Jones for dragging him into this situation. He said openly that Jim Jones is the one who got them into beef with 50 Cent. And you could feel the tension behind those words, because Maino is the kind of person who will stand up loud in public. He will say what he needs to say. He will go on camera and defend the name. But underneath that, there's clearly frustration about being in this position at all. He knows that standing next to someone who keeps generating conflict means you absorb some of that heat. That is the reality of loyalty in this culture. And Jim Jones, who has been relatively quiet through a lot of this, is the person Maino is pointing to as the origin of the whole situation. Now, think about what that means. You've got two guys from New York, two figures who built real names in this culture, who are now publicly disagreeing about who is responsible for bringing them into a war with one of the most calculated and connected people in the entire entertainment industry. That internal tension is almost as interesting as the beef itself, because that is what 50 does. He doesn't just attack from the outside. He creates conditions where the opposition starts fracturing from within. That is next-level conflict strategy. And whether it's intentional or not, it is working perfectly. Now, let's shift over to the TI situation, because this one hit different. This one pulled in the whole family. Here is how this started. There had been talk for a while about a potential versus battle between 50 Cent and TI. For those outside the versus world, it's a platform that pits two iconic artists against each other in a celebration of their catalogs. 50 and TI were rumored as a potential matchup, but the conversation fell apart. And when things fall apart around 50 Cent, they don't just fade away quietly. They become fuel. The back and forth escalated online. And then 50 did something that crossed a very specific line. He posted an unflattering photo of Tiny Harris, TI's wife, the mother of his children. That photo sparked immediate outrage. Because whatever you think about the beef between two rappers, bringing someone's wife into it, especially like that, is a whole different conversation. And the Harris family responded. T.I. responded with diss tracks, but then it escalated even further. Because King Harris, T.I.'s son, wore a t-shirt with a photo of 50 Cent's late mother on it. And that right there, that crossed the line in a way that changed the entire tone. Because 50 Cent lost his mother when he was 8 years old. That wound has never fully closed. He talks about it. It shaped everything about who he is. And seeing how image weaponized like that in a beef, that hit personal. That hit deep. 50 responded. And on March 6, 2026, instead of a traditional diss track, 50 used a theme song for his own show Power Origins to take shots at T.I. and Tiny. That move was both petty and clever at the same time. His not even releasing a separate song. His embedding the shots into his own TV content. And then Domani Harris, T.I.'s other son, dropped his own diss called Ms. Jackson, addressed directly to 50, referencing 50's mother. The whole thing escalated into a multi-generational conflict. And T.I. himself said publicly that he didn't enjoy his sons getting involved. That he wished it had stayed between the two of them. And that King's shout went too far. That statement from T.I. is important. Because it tells you that even within the Harris family, there is disagreement about where the lines are. T.I. wanted to defend his wife, but he did not want his children wading into those waters. And now they are in it. And 50 Cent is on the other side, smiling. Let's talk about the bigger picture of 50 Cent's business empire for a second. Because while all of this drama is unfolding, and while people are watching the beef coverage and the studio eviction footage, 50 is building something enormous. We already talked about the $100 million Times Square deal. But that is only part of the story. In January of 2026, just a few months ago, 50 Cent's company G-Unit Film and Television Louisiana finalized a $124 million deal with the state of Louisiana. 3 entertainment venues. In Shreveport, a full-scale film and television production campus. This project is projected to generate close to $19 billion in economic impact over 20 years. And support over 6,000 jobs. 6,000 jobs. Let that land for a second. This is not a rapper with a clothing line. This is not a celebrity restaurant. This is infrastructure. This is a media empire being built from the ground up in a city that needed economic investment. And 50 Cent is the one making it happen. The Shreveport City Council unanimously approved the initial 30-year lease back in March 2025. And by January 2026, it was officially finalized at the state level. So now you have Times Square in New York, and a production hub in Louisiana, and a Las Vegas connection through his existing Planet Hollywood residency, and plans to expand PH Live into multiple other cities. This man is not building a brand. He is building an ecosystem, a self-sustaining entertainment ecosystem where he controls the content, the venues, the distribution, and the narrative around all of it. And he's doing it while simultaneously beefing with Jim Jones, Maino, T.I., and the whole Harris family at the same time. That level of multitasking is wild. Let's come back to the Maino and Vlad TV conversation, because there was another layer to it that is worth unpacking fully. Maino talked about what he calls the disconnect between the image and the reality of G-Unit. He specifically brought up the Vibe Awards stabbing incident. For those who remember that night, the 2004 Vibe Awards ceremony became one of the most chaotic moments in hip-hop history. Someone attacked Dr. Dre on the scene. Suge Knight was there. The situation devolved into violence. And G-Unit was present. The details of what happened and who responded how are something people still debate to this day. And Vlad was pressing Maino on that, going through incidents one by one. And Maino's response was essentially, I'm speaking from my perspective. I don't have a reason to believe the extra gangster stuff. And that right there is a specific and calculated challenge to 50 Cent's entire mythology. Because so much of 50's brand was built on being undeniable, being 9-shot bulletproof, being the Python that nobody could check. And Maino is on Vlad TV, one of hip-hop's most influential interview platforms, saying that image doesn't fully hold up when you trace the receipts. Now, will 50 Cent respond to that directly? Almost certainly. And when he does, it will not be quiet. It will not be a calm statement. It will be the full weight of everything 50 has access to right now. The social media army, the content machine, the connections, and possibly the building portfolio. Because at this point 50 is not just responding with words, he's responding with assets. Here is the part of this story that people keep missing. And this is the most important thing to understand about what 50 Cent is doing in 2026. Every single piece of drama around him, every beef, every clap back, every trolling moment, every studio eviction, every family conflict, all of it is pointing back to one thing. His name stays in the conversation. His name stays in search results. His name stays in comment sections. His name stays in YouTube thumbnails. And while his name is everywhere, he is quietly building a $100 million venue in Times Square and a $124 million production campus in Louisiana, and planning expansions of PH Live into multiple other major cities. Think about what that means. Every time you watch a breakdown of the Jim Jones eviction drama, 50 Cent wins. Every time you watch a breakdown of the T.I. and King Harris beef, 50 Cent wins. Every time someone plays Maino's Vlad TV clip and debates whether G-Unit got spanked by Jimmy Henchman, 50 Cent wins. Because the attention fuels the brand fuels the business, and the business is now worth hundreds of millions of dollars. This is the machine, and it has been running since Get Rich or Die Trying in 2003. That album sold over 12 million copies worldwide. That is not ancient history. That is the foundation of everything you are watching unfold right now. The man built a 23-year career out of calculated conflict and precise business moves, and he is not slowing down. Now let's talk about the cultural conversation that all of this is stirring up. Because there is a real debate happening right now in hip-hop about beef, about whether it serves the culture or hurts it, about whether back and forth drama is part of what makes hip-hop exciting, or whether it has become something else entirely. And people have different views on this. Some people see 50 Cent going at T.I.'s family and taking shots at people's mothers and wives. And they say that crosses a line that even the toughest rapper code doesn't justify. Others look at the studio eviction situation and say it was all entertainment. Nobody got physically hurt. And 50 found the most hip-hop possible way to win a conflict, by outmaneuvering someone financially and then letting the footage speak for itself. And then there's the Maino perspective, which raises legitimate questions about the gap between public image and private reality in hip-hop. That gap has always existed. Every generation of artists has had to navigate the tension between who they actually are and who the culture needs them to be. 50 Cent built his entire persona on collapsing that gap, on saying this is exactly who I am. Take it or leave it. And that radical transparency, combined with the business acumen, is what separates him from everyone else in this conversation. Because you can question his choices, you can disagree with his methods, but you cannot look at what he is building and call it accidental. Q. Let's talk about the New York angle one more time, because this matters deeply. 50 Cent signing a $100 million deal to build in Times Square is not just a business story, it is a New York story. Times Square is one of the most visited locations on the entire planet. 50 million tourists pass through there every year. And now 50 Cent will have his name on one of the most high-profile entertainment venues in that space. Think about what every event at PH Live is going to mean for his visibility. NBA draft parties, Grammy Week events, Super Bowl-adjacent celebrations, New Year's Eve. Every major cultural moment that brings people to New York City is now a potential PH Live event. And 50 Cent sits at the center of all of it. His Vegas residency has already shown that people will pay premium prices for a 50 Cent experience. 6 shows reportedly earning $15 million. Now multiply that energy across a permanent New York venue with year-round programming. The revenue potential is staggering. And remember, this is the same Times Square where Jay-Z wanted to build his casino and got rejected. The contrast between those two outcomes will not be lost on anybody paying attention. New York is watching. Hip-hop is watching. And the business world is watching. Let's get into the T.I. beef one more layer deeper, because there is something about this situation that reveals something important about where hip-hop is right now. T.I. and 50 Cent have never been close, but they were never sworn enemies either. The Versus conversation suggested that there was at least enough mutual respect to entertain the idea of a musical celebration between them. And then it collapsed. And when things collapse around 50 Cent, he treats it like betrayal, like someone flinched, like someone showed weakness. And then the full arsenal comes out. The Tiny Harris photo, the social media trolling, the Power Origins theme song shots, all of it designed to embarrass and provoke. And it worked. Because T.I. responded. And then his sons responded. And the whole thing became a multi-week news cycle. Now T.I. is one of the most respected figures from Atlanta. One of the most successful Southern rap artists of his generation. He has chart records. He has film work. He has a real legacy. And somehow in February and March of 2026, his family is releasing diss tracks and wearing t-shirts with images of someone's deceased mother. That is not where any of them wanted to be. And 50 Cent put them there. That is the power of calculated provocation at the highest level. And even if you think it went too far, even if you believe the shots at Tiny Harris were out of pocket, even if you believe King Harris went somewhere he should not have gone, you cannot say this was random. Every move on both sides was driven by emotion meeting calculation. And in those situations, the person who stays cooler always controls more of the outcome. 50 is out here signing $100 million deals. T.I.'s sons are dropping diss tracks. That contrast tells you everything. Now let's take a moment to acknowledge something real. 50 Cent is not a perfect figure. He's not the hero of every story he's in. The shots at Tiny Harris were controversial for real reasons. When you target someone's wife to provoke them, there are people who see that as crossing a fundamental line. And T.I. himself said he didn't want his sons involved, which means the escalation to family territory went further than T.I. intended. And on the Jim Jones side, Maino has a point that loyalty deserves more respect than public humiliation. Whatever happened with the studio lease and the back rent, publicly posting surveillance footage of someone trying to get into their own workplace, that is a level of pettiness that some people see as entertainment and others see as cruel. These are real criticisms, and a fair breakdown has to include them, because the internet loves to package everything into clean hero and villain narratives. And the reality of hip-hop is always messier and more human than that. But here is what remains undeniable. The business moves are real. The deals are real. The scale of what 50 Cent is building in 2026 is real. And no matter what you think about his personality or his methods, those numbers don't lie. And this brings us back to the most important thread in this entire story. The pattern. Because this is not new behavior. This is not 50 Cent suddenly going wild in 2026. This is the same pattern that has been running since 2003. The beefs with Ja Rule. The beefs with The Game. The years-long conflict with Jay-Z and the whole Roc Nation network. The situation with Rick Ross. The Kanye comparisons and sales battles. The years of social media posts about Diddy long before any mainstream coverage turned that into the story it became. 50 was talking about Diddy before it was safe to. Before it was popular to. Before the documentary was even a concept. And when the story finally broke wide open, he was positioned as the person who said it first. That is not accidental. That is pattern recognition and timing working together. 50 Cent identifies which way the culture is about to move, positions himself ahead of that wave, and then watches everyone else play catch up. That's the formula. That's always been the formula. And in 2026, with a $100 million Times Square venue, and a $124 million Louisiana production empire, and beef with multiple high-profile figures keeping his name everywhere, the formula is working at its highest level yet. So where does all of this go from here? Let's be honest about what we're looking at. The Times Square venue is going to open, and when it does, it will immediately become one of the most talked about spaces in New York City nightlife and entertainment. Because 50 Cent's ability to pull A-list names into a room is not in question. He has the network. He has the relationships in Hollywood through his TV and film work. He has the music connections spanning over 2 decades. Every opening event at PH Live is going to be a cultural moment. Every surprise performance is going to end up on social media. Every celebrity spotted at that venue is going to drive headlines. And 50 is going to be at the center of all of it. That is a self-sustaining attention engine, attached to a $100 million business, built in one of the most valuable locations on the planet. Now think about what PH Live expanding into other cities means. If they follow through on plans for additional locations, you are looking at 50 Cent having a major entertainment venue in New York, a film and television production campus in Louisiana, a Las Vegas residency connection, and potentially more PH Live locations across the country. That is a vertically integrated entertainment company at a scale very few artists have ever achieved. And on the conflict side of things, the T.I. situation is not over. King Harris doubled down on 50 with another diss record just this month. And 50 used his own TV show's theme music to respond. This is going to keep generating content for weeks, possibly months. And every single week it stays active. More people discover both of their catalogs. More streams, more views, more conversations, more money. Now on the Jim Jones and Maino front, the studio situation has settled into an awkward new reality. The podcast continues. They are still creating content, but the shadow of the whole episode lingers. And Maino's Vlad TV appearance challenging 50's street legacy is going to force a response. 50 does not absorb that kind of challenge quietly. Something is coming from that direction, and when it comes, it is going to be loud. Now, here's the bigger cultural implication. What 50 Cent is demonstrating right now, in real time, is that the rules of hip-hop longevity have changed. You used to need a hit album to stay relevant. You needed chart positions, radio play, cosigns from the right people. Now, you need cultural presence, digital footprint, business headlines, and the ability to generate conversation whether people love you or hate you. 50 has mastered that second set of rules completely, and younger artists are watching. They're studying this. The way he turned a podcast studio least dispute into a national conversation. The way he used his own TV show to fire shots in a beef. The way he announced a $100 million deal in the same week he was posting eviction surveillance footage. That playbook is being studied and copied right now. Hip-hop in 2026 is as much about content strategy as it is about music. And 50 Cent wrote the handbook. Now, here is the honest prediction. Before this year is out, PH Live in Times Square will host at least one event that becomes a defining cultural moment. Something unexpected happens. A surprise performance, a reconciliation, a confrontation caught on camera. Something that puts that venue on the cultural map in a way no marketing budget could engineer. Because chaos follows 50 Cent. And in Times Square, chaos becomes history. And here is the final thing I want you to take from this. 50 Cent grew up in Queens. He was shot 9 times on that same island. He lost his mother before he ever got to build his life. And in 2026, he is building a $100 million empire in the heart of New York City. Right where Jay-Z's casino was rejected. Right where the world watches. Right where you cannot look away. Whatever you think about how he behaves. Whatever you think about the beefs. The pettiness. The shots at families. The calculated chaos. The story of how far this man has come. From South Jamaica, Queens, to Times Square, is genuinely one of the most compelling journeys in the history of this culture. And it is not finished. Not even close. So now with all of that said, let me hear from you. What do you think about the $100 million Times Square deal? Is this 50 Cent's biggest power move yet? Or is this just the beginning of something even larger? Do you think the Times Square venue is going to change the culture of New York nightlife? Or is it more of a celebrity attraction than a real cultural space? And what about the TI situation? Where do you think that beef goes from here? Do you think it's over? Or do you think 50 and the Harris family are just getting started? And the big one, Maino said Janet got spanked by Jimmy Henchman. Do you agree with that take? Or do you think the final outcome of that situation tells a different story? Drop everything in the comments. I genuinely want to know where you stand on all of it, because this is the kind of conversation that makes this community worth building. And if you made it this far into the video, I really appreciate you. That means you're locked in. That means you care about the real culture. And that means you deserve to know how much your support genuinely matters. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Drop a comment so the algorithm knows people are watching and engaging. It helps this channel grow in a real way. And I thank every single one of you who keeps showing up. You are the reason this keeps going. But in the meantime, if you want to see how another major figure in hip-hop is making moves that are just as calculated and just as surprising as everything we just broke down, you are not going to want to miss the next one. Check out the suggested video, because the story keeps going. It always does.